I'm Miriam Schweitzer, and you're watching Yahoo News on Channel 18. Today we're here to discuss the tragic passing of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Alright, so Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was one of Hillel's 8 students, but aside from that, he also saved Yavna during the time when the Romans were involved in taking over Israel. So one of the things that he did was they said that his students said that he had died, and they put him in a coffin, but they said that he had to be buried outside of the Roman gates, and they didn't want the Romans to check because if he was alive or not. One, because he was alive, but two, because it's improper to check, and so they carried him outside. But before that, he told the Roman king that the Romans found out that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai wasn't dead, and he told the Roman king a prediction because at the time they still believed that Caesar was in charge, and so he said, "You're actually the new emperor of Rome." And then at that, a few minutes afterwards, someone from the Roman Empire came and said, Caesar's dead, you're in charge now. And so because of that, the Romans granted Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai a wish, and he said permission to move the Sanhedrin, which is the Jewish court, to Yavna instead of in Jerusalem, as well as to allow the family of Rabbi Gamaliel, who were descendants of King David, to live, and send a doctor to cure Rabbi Zadok, who had fasted so long for the safety of Israel and Jerusalem that he really couldn't eat anymore, and he was really sick. And so, yeah. When the holy days of Rosh Hashanah fell out on Shabbat, they would blow in the temple, but not on the rest of the nation. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said that this was because the court, you can blow the shofar in the court, and it doesn't exceed the rule of carrying on Shabbat, because as Ms. Block said earlier in the year, carrying on Shabbat is when you don't know how to blow the shofar, and so you're taking it to someone else's house for them to teach you. And that's not okay, but because all the people on the court already knew how to blow the shofar, it was fine. And it's also kind of like when they have in your house, when you carry stuff to another room on Shabbat, it's like that, kind of.
In the Sages, page 17, it says, "The priests were barefoot when they performed all parts of the regular temple service. They never entered the sanctuary in sandals. The priests are not allowed to go to the platform or go into the sanctuary to bless the people in sandals. This is one of his 9 enactments, and it only applies to the priestly blessing."
So, Rabbi Yochanan had several students, and so one time he asked them, "Go and see which is the right way for a person to live his life." So Rabbi Eliezer, which was one of his students, said a generous eye. Another one of his students, Rabbi Yeshua, said a good colleague. Rabbi Yossi said a good neighbor. Rabbi Shimon, said foresight. Rabbi Eliezer said a good heart. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said to them, "I prefer the answer of Eliezer ben Araka, for his view includes all of yours." So by doing this, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai taught that he was patient with his students, and he was staying silent and listening until the end of what they had to say, so that it gave them the opportunity to learn for themselves, which is an important skill in the classroom. It teaches them leadership, as well as, but at the end he also gave his own opinion and what he thought was right, even though it was like agreeing with one of the students, they still were able to learn from it and were able to like think, that's a really good answer, I agree, and like, or disagree, which is really important.
Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai says, if you have learned much Torah, do not take credit for yourself. It is for this that you have been formed. His reasoning for this is that the Torah contains so much and it reaches so far, and humans simply cannot and are unable to comprehend the entire Torah. So how can one take credit themselves for it? Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai also says that you were brought into creation to learn and comprehend Torah. So why should one take credit for themselves for doing what they were made to do? He also states that if you reward yourself for comprehending the Torah, you are taking advantage of the words of it. He received this tradition from Hillel and Shammai. Okay, what do you guys think is the most influential thing Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai did in his lifetime?
First of all, Bennett, thank you so much for having us here on your show today. Devorah and I are really so grateful that you are having us here. I think that one of the most important things that he really contributed, aside from all the amazing wisdom that he also had seen in his students all of their potential, and he was able to sort of direct their students according to their way and give them the real direction. And because of him, the next generation of sages came from him. You look at the Mishnah talks about who his students were, Rabbi Lezben Horkness, Rabbi Shua, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Elazar. There were all the greats of the next generation were all his students. So essentially, he really raised the next generation of great people, and he was able to really grow each student in their perfect path. And so I think, maybe, Devorah, do you agree with me? Like, that was the greatest thing that he really brought to the world was a next generation of incredible sages, because of his insight, because of his ability to see the talents, the unique abilities of each of his students, and really allow them to flourish.
All right, thank you. And then the second question is, if you could say one thing to him right now, what would you say?
What would you say? What would you say to him?
I guess maybe I would ask him for that wisdom, how he was able to actually see the greatness in each of his students.
Yeah.
I mean, for us as teachers, that's really, and parents as well. You want to know what's the key? How do you get that insight to really understand what your students need, what my Bennetts need, what my Miriams need, what they need to make them to the best Jew ever? What could bring out all of their talents? What could make them flourish and really just explode with joy and ahavat Hashem, love for Hashem, to explode with like just all their talents to come forth and become the greatest they could be.
Yeah,
Thank you guys
I would say
so
actualize
much.
that potential.
To actualize the potential.
Yep.
Thank you guys.
You're
so
so
much.
welcome.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah.
We're really happy.
Thank you.
Thank you.